Yo, family, thank you for tuning into the Sunday Show with Jonathan Soul. I'm not a religious man anymore, but you will be inspired in these next few minutes. Conversations with African-American artists, writers, filmmakers, and brothers and sisters living abroad. We talk about how they do what they do when they're doing it. Basically, their business and their life. And we try to have fun doing it. Every Sunday, right here on jonathansoul.com, iTunes, YouTube, Tumblr, and blackspot.com. All right, family, let's get into the program. All right, coming up is the interview I did with Greg Anderson-Elysee. He did a terrific graphic novel, horror kind of book called It's Nana the Were Spider. Pick it up at peepgamecomics.com. Let's listen.
So, It's Nana the Were Spider is essentially a horror coming-of-age type story about the son of Anansi the spider. And what happens is Anansi is the West African god of storytelling. Mm-hmm. And in my story, he gets kidnapped and he goes missing in our world. And Isnana decides to come down to look for him. But in doing that, he accidentally breaks these barriers from all these different dimensions.
Okay.
That brings a lot of creatures and horrors into our world. So it becomes a father and son story of them trying to, I guess, bond and build a relationship while they're hunting these monsters down.
That's cool. That's cool. I mean, when I saw the way you built the relationship between Anansi and Isnana, I thought it was really groovy. You know what I mean? You put effort into showing that he wanted to make his father proud, and his father was, very concerned about his safety, and then he wanted him to learn and grow in the whole bit. And then, when shit went down, Pops would step in if he felt like Isnana needed some help. So how did you arrive at this particular character? Was it the first idea that you had? Well, tell us about the development.
Well, originally I was working on a different character, a different story that mostly focused more on Caribbean folktales and like Haitian voodoo mythology. Mm-hmm. And that project, I had to shelve it for a little bit, a few different issues I had with it. Mm-hmm. And sort of Isnana became like my backup character. Mm-hmm. And I wasn't expecting him to blow up as he did.
Right.
But I also wanted to tackle on the whole subject of, I guess, Black mythology sort of dying, because you can ask a lot of people, particular deities, even the most well-known ones, who are Black, and a lot of people wouldn't know them. And I always feel a little weird about it, especially if like I'm asking other Black people, like, oh, have you even heard of Anansi the spider? And I get who, yeah. But I mean, in the sense, it was sort of like my whole goal is just to introduce more Black mythological characters. Mm-hmm. Me doing my research, I want to showcase that we actually have characters that's just as cool as Heracles and Zeus and Hera, just as cool as Thor, mm-hmm. Loki. We have all these great characters, especially, Africa being this huge continent with all these different countries. Mm-hmm. They have so many different characters that I'm still learning about, And then we also have a lot of Caribbean folk tales. We have a lot of African-American tales that, during the times of slavery, So, and I feel like a lot of people just aren't being educated on that.
Yeah.
And knowledgeable. So that's why I feel like I want to use Isnana as sort of like my gateway, like mm-hmm. an open discussion of like, these other characters are out here. Let's do something with them.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. So as I read through your book, and let's talk a little bit about the art, because I mentioned earlier that you assembled a pretty good team. Now the artist on the cover is badass, of course. And I think you said his name was Walt Barner or Bana. Did I get that right?
Yeah, Walt Bana.
Yeah.
He's actually an artist in Zimbabwe.
Really?
So
interesting.
I was very, very excited to at least have an African artist involved.
Now, how did you connect with the brother?
Well, he's done work for like quite a few different people in the indie scene. Okay. And I'd say he's well known for being a cover artist for Ajala.
Okay.
That Robert Garrett and
the
Stephen
little
Harris,
teenage Daredevil girl type character, right?
Yeah. The Defender of Harlem. Yeah. It's an awesome book. I saw his I've seen his covers, and originally I wanted, Walter, my artist, to do the cover, but he didn't want to do it. He didn't want to tackle it. And I also reached out to Riley Rosmo, but Riley wasn't able to do it because he's, all his books from Marvel and DC was getting in the way. So I saw, Bonner's work, and I loved his work. He even won a glyph for the Ajala cover, and I was just like, dude, like, I need you. Like,
right.
What's your price? I told him the concept that I wanted with the cover, and when he did like the sketch for it, I was just blown away. It was just like, this guy's perfect.
Wow. That's beautiful, man. That's beautiful. So it sounds like not only did you have to wrestle with, pulling your team together. Off air, we talked about how you paid for a lot of the initial production out of pocket, and then you did a Kickstarter for the print. Can you talk about that process?
Yes, very, very long.
You had to work a lot of overtime at the job, man. Was you selling newspapers in the morning?
Yes.
Tell us about it.
Oh my God, I'm a teaching artist, so I teach. My primary source of income is teaching.
Okay.
I'm part of an art program that sends different artists to different schools to teach art, and the reason why is because there's a lot of schools that are no longer teaching art. It's no longer part of the core curriculum.
Yep,
and so
true.
Art, in a sense, is sort of dying out when it comes to schools like public schools. So our program, we try to put art into after schools, or we actually sometimes even combine art with the particular curriculums, depending on if the school wants that or not. And I'm a film teacher. I teach film. So that's my primary source of income, and then I'll have other gigs that I'm doing on the side. So it was like anything that can give me some type of money I was doing, just to be able to like pay my artists. Because I feel like, you want a good professional artist,
right?
The best thing to do is pay,
right?
And actually, get under a contract, just do what you have to do, So it was like a long process of having to save up money. And then in the middle of it, needing to raise more money to pay for everyone involved, and eventually when I did the Kickstarter, I wanted to do the Kickstarter with a book already complete.
What kind of reception do you receive on your Kickstarter?
Overwhelming, positive.
Wow.
It's funny, the first day, I didn't announce that I put it up the first day. I told everyone the date was going to be the day after I actually put it up, and just to, I don't know, I guess just to get like family involved and put some money in, heads up. But someone, I don't know who it was, someone saw the video, and just posted it on like a particular Facebook group, and all of a sudden it was shared everywhere.
Wow!
Within that first day, I wasn't trying to announce it, and I made back like my goal, which was moderately low, but I made the goal within like the first 2-3 days.
Wow!
And people just kept on sharing it, and it's just been awesome, and it meant a lot to me because I was nervous as hell,
right?
About to do it. I was just had nightmares about it and everything.
So let's just sit back and think about this for a second. So you got this overwhelming response. So what need did you fulfill? Like, how would you describe it?
For one, the fact that like, it's almost indescribable, I guess, the feeling itself.
Okay.
Because like the fact that people, they see this product and they're sharing it everywhere, they're excited for it, and they're putting all types of money in, some more money than I would have ever expected one person would put in, so it's and getting that need of like they want to see a product in their hands, that was very exciting for me to see, and different rewards. People were very excited about some of the rewards. So yeah, essentially it was all just to like get it printed, and I made enough money where we actually added a side story, like an extra story, into the book. So that was great. So if anyone's from the Kickstarter. Thank you.
Yeah, man. As a matter of fact, you mentioned that side story. I'm looking at the digital now, and let me see. Is the side story in the digital?
Yep. Yes, it is.
Yeah. Okay, I see it
It's
at the end. At
both
the
of
end.
them. Yeah.
Okay, and then it looks like you
Yeah.
also have alternate covers too, which is awesome.
Well, it's a lot of. I was able to get some artists to contribute to pinups for the book, which was great. A lot of artists that I've looked up to for years that I've stumbled on, and they were kind enough to put their own spin on the character.
Yeah. It's really crazy. It seems like you've tapped into some kind of need in a very real way, and then people are just kind of going along for the ride. You mentioned a couple of things that I wanted to revisit, which may be humorous, it may be tongue-in-cheek, but you mentioned like Haitian myths, and you mentioned zombies. I had a bone to pick with zombies, and I haven't found a zombie expert to talk to, so you're going to be the stand-in for today. Back in the day,
I don't think I've mentioned zombies, but I can talk to you about zombies.
Zombie expert, man. Just deal with it. Just take the mantle. Just rise to the occasion. So, Mr. Zombie expert, this is my beef, right? When zombies first started out, It was like a mystical kind of a thing. Somebody would hit you with some type of voodoo or whatever. Depending on, which mythos you read, maybe there was some chemicals involved. And then you had this, kind of obedient person to kind of do it. Since when did the zombies convert to like virus? I mean, can you talk about that? They're like two flavors of zombies, aren't they? The mystical and then the virus. What's up with that?
I mean, oh boy, here we go. All right. So I would say in Haitian, there's Haitian mythology, and there's a lot of people that would probably even argue with me and say, no, it's not mythology. It actually happens.
Okay.
But there is that whole sense of zombification. You have this pufferfish thing.
Yep.
That actually makes someone unconscious, but to the point where they might replicate like them being dead, but they're actually inside, and so that has caused people to misspect that they're dead, would bury them alive, and then when they will come out, I guess sort of their minds would be messed up from the pufferfish, the trauma that's going on, and so it would seem like they're zombies. So you have all these different stories of it being dark magic.
Hey, Greg, you're breaking up just a little bit. Just repeat those last few minutes again. The last thing that I was hearing was about the pufferfish, and let me just in case people aren't up to speed, there was some documentary floating out there where maybe if the person commissioned I don't know if you call them witch doctors or sorcerers or whatever you call them in that tradition. What would you call somebody versed in the? Would they just be a priest or something? In voodun, is that what it's called in Haiti?
Well, in voodoo, there's two different types of priests.
Okay.
There's the Hoga and there's the Bokar.
Okay.
And the Hoga, they're known for being like the priests who are there for like the people. They're there for the worship of the ancestry. They're there for healing. Okay. And then there's the Bokar who tends to shift more into like the darker side of the religion. And so this is where things get a little wonky for people who don't know the religion or the stories. And this is why a lot of Hollywood takes advantage of that ignorance, to the point where they make it seem as if all of voodoo is the dark side of voodoo, is the voodoo that's sort of, like I don't want to say evil. Like I just want to say the ones that don't focus on the healing or betterment of some people.
No, I'm
There's
with
some
you.
that's for selfish gain.
Yeah, I'm with you on that. I took my kids to an African religious festival years ago when they were small, and I remember I had we had to dress in all white, like from head to toe, and they were people. I had my one baby in the front pack, and a priest came up to her and anointed her with like whiskey or something. You know what I mean? Drunk the whiskey and they anointed her, and then there was like fruit there and stuff. It was like voodun, Akan, and some other people there, Santeria, some other folks. So, but what you're saying almost sounds like for the uninitiated, like Jedi and Sith, right? It's like both of them tap into the same force, but one focuses on the healing and the betterment, and the other one might be, well, I need to get revenge on a motherfucker. You know what I mean?
Yeah, I mean, essentially, based on like my research, my knowledge of like talking to even people that's involved in it, because I wouldn't call myself an expert or a voodooist,
right?
But I've read enough. I've read a lot, and I'm still trying to learn more. And I'm like talking to people who's involved about how that whole system works. And the best thing I can say about that system is that the system has been tarnished by Hollywood, and even back during the times of slavery. Like this was our religion, this was our culture,
right?
Not necessarily like voodoo, but for that section of people that from Africa that ended up coming to Haiti and the Caribbean and came to Louisiana, it was like they worshiped this African religion. That was their power. And if you want to take away someone's power, you usually tell them your religion, what you follow, is evil. And so that's why we have all this whole sort of like bigotry and stigma and ignorance when it comes to black culture and black religion. So now we as black people believe to this day that it's evil, just any type of worship for African spirituality. So that's why like the zombie thing is a little tricky to talk about, because from my understanding, this zombification is something that happens more so in the darker sense of the belief system.
Right.
But Hollywood has made it seem like every aspect of voodoo was involved with zombification.
Right.
Which from my studies, my understanding, that's not the case. And now, as someone who is a horror fan, and you can read the book, and you see it's a horror book too.
Definitely.
Definitely in the beginning of Hollywood, when it comes to them producing a lot of horror films, there was a lot of ones that did focus on zombification, whether it was White Zombie, I Walked with the Zombie, which is one of my all-time favorite movies. And so they focused on the mystical aspect, the spirituality aspect of it, which sometimes the movies are very problematic, but in a sense, I actually sort of enjoy them. Right. But I think it was during Romero's, once he brought zombies more into the forefront, and I don't even think he explained why the zombies were a particular way, but it ended up shifting from spirituality to science, more sci-fi.
Yeah, and I think that's because he came from a different cultural perspective. That's my theory. That's my theory. Now, and while we with great anticipation wait for your Zombie for Dummies book to come out, could you tell us a little bit about the ideas that you might have had if you would have pursued the whole zombie tale? Because to me, it's just another form of spirituality in the same way that Nana is expressing a type of spirituality. I mean, let's face it. I mean, the character is communing with an ancestor, so to speak, or communing with a deity. I don't think you can get more spiritual than that. If you were to do, like I say, while we wait for your Zombies for Dummies books to come out, 2017, if you were to explore that, like, how would you redeem, that character or that mythos?
I mean, the original character that I brought up, it wasn't going to be a zombie tale. It was focused on Haitian stories and Haitian folklore.
Okay. And
the voodoo deities. I did have an idea for like possibly one zombie showing up at least once at some point. But it was more so like I wanted to tackle stuff what I've read, in the sense of like, yes, there's a lot of good in the spirituality that's not showcased.
Okay.
Even sort of putting down that whole belief that voodoo dolls, they're there to sort of tarnish and destroy the person it was supposed to be based on. And no, that that's something that was fabricated from Hollywood,
Uh-huh.
you know. And so like I wanted to like base that particular character on sort of like what I was reading and what I was learning, and the sense of like a celebration of these colorful aspects of this spirituality. And of course, it was still going to be a horror book,
Okay.
but it was more so like there's a lot of complexity when it
Okay.
comes to these characters. It's not evil, it's not great, it's not fantastical. It's just is. You have all these different contexts that you can draw
Okay.
from.
I get you. So you weren't going to focus on zombies per se. You were going to focus on the spiritual aspect of it, and then maybe introduce some of these more colorful symbols,
Yeah.
I suppose. Okay, I got you.
Yeah.
That makes sense. That makes sense. Now, something else that you mentioned earlier in our talk, you mentioned that you were an art teacher. You were part of an arts program. Now, I think
Yeah.
that my generation is probably the last generation to have shop in high school, to have gym in high school, to have arts. Just tell me how important you think arts are in the school systems, and maybe what some of the impact has been since the art has been taken out.
It's oh man. I mean, art is essentially one of the original building blocks of our what'd you say? I want to say education, but of our development, our mental development. You know, we start as kids. The first thing we do is pick up a crayon and just start scribbling.
Yep.
You know, in the beginning of civilization, you had all these drawings on the walls, and you know, this is the way that people communicated.
Yeah.
And I feel like taking that away is a huge disservice, especially to the point where a lot of people think creatively. They may not always think creatively, but it's sort of like it helps juggle their minds. You know, in a sense that a lot of people feel connected because of art, and a lot of people gain belief systems. A lot of them gained self-esteem. You know, a lot of people live because they found a particular musician, and the musician was talking to them in a way that no one else has spoken to them, and you know, they live through that.
Yep.
And so it really hurts when I hear so much that the school doesn't teach an art program, or they're not learning art, you know. And I applaud the programs in the schools that are still trying to work the system by adding, you know, art into the programs. It's disheartening. It's
In the schools,
weird.
in the schools that you go to teach, what kind of reception do you get from the students?
Oh, they generally love it. It's sort of like a breath of fresh air because they're learning just typical textbook stuff the whole day. There's one school in particular that they actually learn graphic design. That's a regular part of their curriculum for that particular school. So in a sense, they're still sort of keeping art alive, but then we sort of come in to teach them more, you know, teach them, and especially now technology has blown up. You know, everyone knows how to do something technical now, and now it's easier to teach kids how to film. You know, like I've taught even elementary school how to work a camera, and then they literally start shooting something very well. So it's come to the point where kids just grow up, like once they're born, they see a tablet, they already know how to move it. So I think the next best thing is showcase them like stuff like filmmaking.
Yeah.
You know, like this is how simple it is. You know, you start them at a young age, their brains are a sponge compared to people who are learning when they're much older and they get confused, you know, at something like film technology.
Right. Wow, that's impressive, man. That's impressive. You mentioned that you said you had your educational background is film.
Yes, film, theater, fine arts, all that.
Most of the creators I've been talking to recently have a vision for their comic becoming a movie or a TV series, a video series at some point. Do you fall in that same category?
Currently, no.
Say it was enough just to get the book out.
Yeah, right.
I can dig
My
it, man.
focus has always been the book being a book, sending it out there, getting it in people's hands. I mean, I'd say who wouldn't love, unless you're Alan Moore, who wouldn't want to see their books as something else.
Right. Okay.
Like that would be dope. If I got a great animator who wants to do it, or someone, a director who has a good vision, as long as they stay with the core elements of what I want to say. But
Yeah.
like my focus right now isn't on any other outside media, unless it's to actually help get more books in people's hands.
All right then, man. So as we wrap up, I'm going to ask you two questions. One, I need your top 5 horror movies. Top
Oh.
5 horror movies. And then I need your contact information for the folk who can support you by purchasing the book in print, digital, and following on social media. So you mentioned Romero, so we already know that it's Day of the Dead, right? Or Dawn of the Dead is going to be a part of it. So give me your top 5 horror movies.
No, that's actually not part of the top 5.
What? What?
It's not. It's funny. No, but I wouldn't consider. Okay, I'd say. Okay, this is tough. Top 5 horror films. Number 1 would probably be The Innocents, which I believe was in the 1960s.
Wow. Describe that a little bit.
This was. Have you ever saw The Others?
Vaguely. Were those like alien abduction type deal?
No, The Others was Nicole Kidman, and her children were being haunted by these ghosts in this house that they recently moved into, and you found out it was like it was just weird. I don't want to spoil it if you want to watch it again, but The Innocents was sort of like the original version of that, but The Others did its own thing.
Wow.
Completely, but it was sort of inspired by I guess The Innocents, and The Innocents was about a governess who was hired to watch over these 2 kids, and it was a possibility that these 2 kids they were being possessed by these ghosts of people that died prior.
Wow.
And it's sort of her trying to see her uncover it while she's going crazy, and you're contemplating if this is all in her head or is this actually happening.
Gotcha.
And it's a really creepy, really well done film.
Gotcha. The Innocents. Okay, what's number 2?
Yeah. I Walked with a Zombie. Would probably be number 2.
Okay, all right.
I'm a big fan of old school, like 1930s to 60s horror films.
Okay.
Those are my favorites. God, there's so many. Good
and this
ones.
doesn't have to be an exhaustive list. No disrespect to the ones you don't mention. So, The Innocents, I Walk with a Zombie. What's number 3?
Shizzle. Putting me on the spot. I'm looking at like my collection right now. All right. Crap. There's so many.
I'm glad I didn't ask you for the top
Black
2.
Swan would probably be one.
Black Swan?
Have you seen Black Swan?
Oh, Black Swan. I seen the trailer. You talking about the recent one with the skinny girl from Vendetta, right?
Yeah.
I'm pretty blunt on the microphone, man. It's a different persona come out. Yeah, the skinny girl with the I
see it.
It's not really my cup of tea.
See it.
See
the movie.
Okay.
Yes.
So was it a psychological kind of thriller type deal or what?
Yeah, it's a psychological horror film.
Okay.
It's one of the most messed up films you'll probably see recently.
Wow.
I know a lot of people just saw Ballerina. It's like, what the fuck? But it's
right. Them ballerinas.
It's a trippy movie.
And they kill. Yeah. Okay. All right. So it's not that kind of thing. All right. I got you. Gotcha. Yeah. All right. What's number 4?
Eraserhead.
Man, you coming up with these obscure movies, man. Now I got to research. Now I got to Google. Now I got to BitTorrent. All right, what is this? It's an Eraserhead.
Eraserhead, yeah. It was, I guess, David Lynch's first feature film.
Okay.
And it's a very surreal, abstract film. I feel like it's very popular. A lot of people love it. It's a cult classic, but I can see why some people may think it's too weird and wouldn't like it. And essentially, the main character, he ends up impregnating his girlfriend, and their child is this weird, deformed-looking creature.
Okay.
And it follows him sort of one wanting, sort of going crazy, trying to take care of this creature, and sort of like he starts to gain this hatred for his baby.
Wow.
It's like it's a crazy film. I love it. I've seen it 1,000 times. I never get tired of it.
What in the film do you recognize as genius or special or trend-setting?
The
in
fact
that
that
particular
it's
film.
unconventional.
Okay, all right.
It's very unconventional. A lot of it, like I sort of like films that aren't too clear in a lot of their plots, because it sort of leaves an opening for you to try to decide or try to pick apart as to certain meanings. So I like abstract and surreal films.
Wow. All right. So now let me get the drum roll. All right. Number 5. What's your number 5? Top 5 horror films. What's number 5?
This is tough.
You can't say Friday the 13th because that's beneath you. All right, you already come across this film, not a film snob, but this educated film guy. You were sitting in the back row with Siskel and Ebert. I seen you in the back. All right, man. So tell us number 5.
I'm definitely a film snob. Crap. All right, I'm gonna cheat. And I'm gonna mention 2. I'm gonna cheat.
That's okay. You black. You can do 5 plus 1. I can dig it.
All right. The Birds by Alfred Hitchcock.
Finally,
and Black
film
Killer.
I actually heard of. Finally, my man. I appreciate it. Thank you for speaking to the lowly masses on this film vibration. Thank you, sir. Thank you. The Birds. Alfred Hitchcock. I got you. Go ahead, man.
Yeah. The Birds and Blackula. I would say Blackula is another favorite. I love Blackula.
Blackula? Are you serious?
You have no... Mama Wildie is one of my favorite all-time.
Wow. I never would have seen that coming. Wow.
Yep.
That is cool, man.
My reason for liking loving Blackula, I've seen it quite a number of times too.
You don't need a reason. I'm just saying.
He's Mama Wildie. Have you seen
I know he's a terrific actor. Yeah.
It's one of my things is, as I said, I'm a huge horror fan, and you read his Nana. His Nana is also, even though it focuses on the relationship between him and his father, there's a lot of horror elements in it. Mm-hmm. Me, myself, I don't feel there's enough black-based horror films where they're actually good. Where, I feel like we keep getting the same type of black films, black stories, but we don't really get too much of films where it focuses on sci-fi where the lead is black or it follows a black family. Like we had Will Smith and Jaden Smith, that movie, which I thought was awful. I hated that movie.
Wow.
But that being said, I love the fact that it focused on a black family.
Right. And
so that was the reason why I supported that. That's the reason why I wanted to see it. It's because it was finally we get a black family sci-fi film. Mm-hmm. And we don't really see that. And that's what I sort of wanted to change. Even when it comes to me making films, I want to sort of show that we have a lot of, black creators, black audience that love horror films. So can we get some horror films with black people in it?
Yeah.
And we get stuff like freaking Leprechaun in the Hood. Like, what the hell?
Well, that's the thing. I think there is an audience for that. On Twitter, there's some group I follow, 2 women who I think that's called what was it? Let's see if I'm looking for it. I can't find it. But they focus on horror movies in general and horror movies of black characters in particular. It might be Dark Matters Project on Twitter. But no, I'm with you. I like the suspense and I like the sci-fi and the whole bit. I'm such a visual person that it takes me a while to clear my cache after seeing a horror movie. So, after I saw Resident Evil, I saw zombie Doberman Pinschers everywhere. So it took some time for me to recover. But it's been a pleasure speaking with you, Greg Anderson-Elysee. Could you tell folks where they can pick up It's Nana, the Were Spider, digital print, and where they can follow you on social media?
Yeah, sure. Isnana is actually on Amazon, so people can follow it on, pick it up, leave a review. Review makes wonders for people to realize, oh, the book is actually cool, so let me support.
Yep.
Get it on Amazon or Peep Game Comics. Comics with an X at the end instead of a C for a digital version.
Yep.
Or you could actually get it directly from me on Facebook. Just my name in, Greg Anderson-Elysee. I'll show up. You can follow me on Instagram, Greg Day, D-A-E. I'm on Twitter also. Almost every social media I could really think of except for Snapchat, which I need to get on, apparently.
Cool.
So,
Greg, man, it's been a pleasure, and I learned a lot from you, brother. Thank you for sharing your time with me.
well, thanks for having me.
Okay, family, hope you dug this podcast. We about to head on out. Just a couple of little housekeeping type things. Head on over to Amazon.com and grab Malcolm Mars. Malcolm, M-A-L-C-O-L-M, Mars, M-A-R-S. Malcolm Mars is a sci-fi novel, ebook, about 200 pages depending on your device, because it reformats to whatever's ebook. And it's a sci-fi thriller, almost like a sci-fi opera kind of deal. 3 friends from college, they grew up and they became men or whatever. They started families, and then a tragedy struck, and they had to take their families to Mars. So definitely check that out. Follow me on Twitter, JOHNATHANSOUL on Twitter, JOHNATHANSOUL on Twitter and Tumblr. I love you guys. Hope all your dreams come true. Till next time, keep your head up, Pops. Keep your head up, Dad. Peace.